Hi everyone, it's Chenzo from Reality Art Pod, here to talk about the challenge season 39, episode 14, titled Don't Let TJ Decide. Previously, Kylant and Horacio were nominated for elimination, and mercenary Brad picked Kylant's name, but unfortunately, Brad couldn't keep his shoesies on and lost to Kylant in elimination. Before I dive in, as always, the link is in the subject to watch my playlists with my previous challenge recaps. Also, if you like the video, consider subscribing. I have a big video planned for my 100 video celebration. But let's dive in. They get back to the house, and Kylant is rightfully pumped after beating another champ. Colleen is still cooking up her plan against Jay and Michelle and calls herself Moline, I guess because she was the mole. Jay coaches Asif on playing the game, and they both agree they think they deserve an Emmy for their performance this season. Olivia and Nerys tell Kylant that he was always going to be the house vote. Elsewhere, Michelle, Jay, and Mariah lick their wounds, feeling like failures for not eliminating an opponent. Michelle points out that all of their targets have stayed in the last few weeks and are now banding up against them. Michelle tells her alliance that they're losing the numbers, and she's stressed and says it's all a mess. Horacio and Nerys snuggle on the poolside daybed, with Nerys becoming more and more loyal to Horacio on a game level. Olivia tells us that it's been a struggle watching Nerys and Horacio get close, but she's more and more willing to ride with Horacio in the game. At the daily challenge, they are still at 16 players, as they have been for like a month now. TJ tells us that they'll be playing in a mini final called Off in the Distance. They'll be in teams of 4, carrying a stick down a path with 3 checkpoints, with puzzles that they need to complete along the way to get puzzle pieces after every station, and then at the end they have to build their puzzle. The teams are Kylant, Michelle, James, and Mariah, Horacio, Asif, Zara, Olivia, Nerys, Ed, Jay, and Colleen, and Corey, Emmanuel, Raven, and Berna. At the first checkpoint, each person is assigned a bag of puzzle pieces hanging from a rope. They have to saw their rope against the apparatus to free their puzzle pieces. Asif conducts his team like an orchestra to get them off to an early lead, complete with orchestral score that he asks for in the confessional. Moline really struggles with her rope, really setting her team back. At the second checkpoint, they have to run their bags through some ropes that are tangled around trees. This one is really just an inconvenience because it's not difficult at all. At some point, Colleen falls, and Nerys points out that she doesn't see Colleen as a threat anymore. The third checkpoint is a puzzle where they have to count all the squares in an image and then multiply it by 39. It looks like hard math. Jay's team, who are the last ones to get there, decide to just try all multiples of 39 instead of trying to count them in the image, and they go from last place to first. Their final puzzle is taking a bunch of cylinder pieces and making them into level pillars. This is Michelle's specialty, and she even announces that she won Survivor with this puzzle, and they flash back to it, and Michelle, Kylan, James, and Mariah end up winning the challenge with Michelle's great amount of help. I wish she could have kicked the puzzle, but it was in a thing. TJ tells them they have to nominate a man for elimination, and they show Jay's face looking like his life is flashing before his eyes. Michelle wants to nominate Horacio, and Kylant isn't down for it, but he's outvoted, and he sees some benefit in Horacio being nominated because it forces the house to use their brains and vote in someone new. After Horacio is nominated, James and Nerys have a shouting match that is calmed down when Horacio gives James the lightest approach. TJ warns them that the mercenary coming is no joke, and they head back to the house where Michelle and Olivia talk about the numbers and the house being split. Olivia tells us she's leaning towards jumping ship and riding with Horacio and Kyland. At night, the challengers are going to the club, and they're stunted in the hallway on the way out. At the club, Asif tries to lock down Nerys' allegiance, and she tells us that she's still loyal to the Fantastic Four, but is very tempted to say fuck them and turn on them. There's a random shot of Raven twerking on Kyland and him very much enjoying it, and dang, Melissa's pillow isn't even cold yet. Michelle corners Horacio, and he tells us that he hates how Michelle and Jay are playing the game. The next day, they strategize. Asif thinks Ed will be the house vote. Michelle and Mariah grow sketchy of Olivia playing both sides, and Michelle gets emotional about the house divide. Kyland decides to come for Jay's group by nominating Emmanuel, so the votes are going to come down between Emmanuel and Ed, with Olivia being a swing vote with a big decision. At the nominations, we get a vote split, but Nerys and Olivia turn on Jay and vote for Emmanuel. Moline is still mulling out and votes for Ed. They end up at a stalemate 6-6 vote. They go to a revote, and Corey chickens out and changes his vote to himself because he's afraid of the consequences if they tie. Ed last minute changes his vote to Jay, and they go to stalemate again. I thought this was a pretty badass move from Ed. Afterwards, Michelle confronts Nerys and Olivia in the bedroom, and then Jay comes in hot and heavy, and Olivia's like, Jay, you better chill. They get ready for the elimination, and one thing about this show is that they will show Horacio getting dressed in slow motion every time they have to go anywhere. At elimination, TJ tells them it was a big mistake to go to stalemate. CT gives the performance of a lifetime looking scary backstage. Enter CT holding the chaos mace, or hammer, whatever the hell they call it. The girls are laughing and loving CT, and the men are all soiling themselves. CT gives a teaser for his next return, saying he's got to see what he's got to do before season 40. TJ tells CT that he can select anyone to go against except Kyland and James because they won the challenge. CT turns to Horacio and tells him that he's going to give him a break that he never got when he was a newbie, and he tells Jay that he's letting him off the hook, which was shocking to me. I really thought that CT was going to come for Jay's ass. CT ends up taking a diplomatic approach, picking the person he says he knows the least, who is Asif. As they're reacting to Asif getting called down, Jay rejects a hug from Nerys that he doesn't want. Jay is so pissed that he is transformed into a different person. Asif and CT will be playing Mind Grind. They need to push a heavy wheel to unveil a math equation involving prime numbers. Even the thought of this equation makes my brain hurt. They start off and Asif is keeping up with CT physically, pushing what he calls the big dreidel. They get to the equation about the same time with CT at a slight lead. And CT is a genius. He's so good with puzzles and math equations, but Asif doesn't know what prime numbers are, and Asif panics. CT takes it nice and slow, and CT does end up winning, taking $10,000 from the pot and eliminating Asif from the game, telling TJ on the way out that he'll see him soon. And we have to say goodbye to Asif here in an intense and emotional elimination. Everyone gives him big hugs, and Asif gets a "take care of yourself, have a good one" from TJ. Not an "I'm sure we'll see you again." I don't know if it's just me, but I'm always reading into what TJ says to them. Like sometimes he's like, "I know I'm gonna see you again, wank wank." But sometimes the goodbye from TJ seems very final, and this one seemed very final to me. But I do hope that we see Asif again. He's such a fun character. I feel like he really didn't do too much this season. Besides being Jay's sidekick, he was so confident in their Fantastic Four alliance, and I'm surprised this alliance didn't last a bit longer. Maybe Asif sold it to me. This episode, when he was at multiple times so confident that his plan was going to work out and saying he deserved an Emmy, I was like, wait, is Asif going home? Then he gets randomly called out by CT and plucked out of the game. Like I said earlier, I hope we see him again. I don't really think he's lived up to his potential, but we'll see him again every Friday, bearing all on the pit crew on Drag Race. Overall, this episode was pretty good. Game-wise, the house is pretty divided now. As a viewer, I prefer it to be cut and dry like that. I feel like Horacio is becoming less averse to playing the game now as well. As it stands, they're moving on to the conquest part of the game, and Jay's side lost Asif, who was a critical piece, because they think they have Colleen, but they don't. So they're looking pretty doomed to me. I really hope there's a purge coming that gets rid of like 5 or 6 of these players to make up for 4 non-elimination episodes. I feel like we need to kick this game into second gear a little bit and get things going. Send some people home. So that's all I have to say about this episode. Let me know in the comments, what did you think of the episode? I'll be back next Wednesday to talk about the next episode of the challenge. If you've been watching The Traitors, I've been covering that too. I'll be back tomorrow with the Traitors episode. But if you don't watch that, have a nice weekend. Bye.